Welcome back to Street Signs. CNBC and Statista have launched their report on the world's top 200 fintech companies today. Statista used a rigorous method to pick fintech firms, evaluating more than 1,500 companies across 9 different categories, from neobanking to digital assets, using more than 10,000 data points. Featured company Xeon CEO Thomas Kadar told CNBC it's important for smaller companies to work together as tech giants move into the space.
I would say that new entrants like tech giants such as Google and Amazon are making inroads into the financial industry, as well as Amazon has just launched their own fintech accelerator program. Google is also making partnerships with different payment processors. I think it's a natural step of their evolution. Basically, the whole idea is to build super apps or close to super apps, like we can see in China with WeChat. But I would say that these tech giants and incumbents are trying to cover the whole payment flow. Today, most of them are using different third parties and middlemen in their payment processing, and also customer lending and other financial applications. So I would say for them, it's really just natural to actually start to make tighter partnerships and alliances and actually build products themselves in order to cover the whole flow of payments and actually solve the main customer pain points. We can see this as like friction in payments. This is something we can help with, and that's why we are also partnering with some of the largest fintech companies out there.
Well, fortunately for us, Ryan Browne, CNBC's tech correspondent and co-author of the report, joins us now. Ryan, what are your key takeaways from this report?
Yeah, thanks, Juliana. So some of the key takeaways from the report here. So first off, the US is the biggest country for fintech companies globally. You had 65 of the top fintechs of the 200 featured here in the report, really just showing the scale of the US as a fintech market. Second, though, was the UK, a distant second with 16 out of the top 200, but still a strong ecosystem overall that's been built up over the years with the likes of Monzo and Revolut and Starling. And Germany and France trail behind. Germany on 10 top fintechs and France on 8, so showing Europe as well kind of featured. But second, a really big point that was interesting from the report was this migration away from challenger banks and sort of consumer apps in the sort of fintech industry to kind of other parts of the financial chain. So you've got areas like compliance and security and know your customer. They're all featured here as well. And then finally, another interesting takeaway was the non-bank players that are getting into finance. In China, you've got Tencent and Ant Group, who are massive payment players there, and it kind of reflects a broader shift as well from US tech giants like Amazon and Apple and Google, who are also trying to get into financial services.
Ryan, how's the downturn in the UK economy perhaps impacting this sector, particularly fintech? I mean, yes, you point to 16 being the number of big fintech players, which is second, which is still sizable, but when compared to players like the United States, where you have the IRA now in place there too, the impact must be big.
Certainly, yeah. We don't have those massive names yet, like Stripe and PayPal and these kind of like huge names that are present, with a kind of global influence. But you have got some companies that are there that are interesting, like Revolut, for example. But I think talking about the UK specifically, high interest rates has knocked fintech broadly, and the UK hasn't been immune to that. You've seen fintech funding drop sharply, 59% plunge in the first half of the year. And I think what's happening there is that the UK is not immune to those global macroeconomic challenges, and it kind of impacts the neobanks and the consumer plays pretty significantly. So yeah, there's a lot kind of going on there. The UK is trying to kind of push itself as a fintech hub and a crypto hub, and it's trying. The government's doing a lot of initiatives around listings, for example, to kind of encourage companies to get from those early stages to the growth stages. But yeah, definitely some confidence being knocked in terms of the
UK government seems very keen to try to build up the fintech space.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting debates in this space, to my mind, is whether the ultimate winners here, the pioneers, are going to be the incumbent banks, the big banks like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, which are investing heavily in fintech, or these new institutions. Are they going to end up being the leaders, or are we going to see them actually acquired and ultimately end up, as the same entity? What's your take from the report and the research you've done on that topic?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. You have the big banks making plays in fintech. I think the big trend is that the partnerships between some of those big banking players and the fintechs. A lot of the companies that are on here are infrastructure players, working in that space around compliance and around kind of know your customer. Some of these key areas that the big banks have to sort of play into. So, just to name a few companies, I mean, you've got enablers of kind of banks to make their own digital products in there. The likes of, Clearbank, which partners with a lot of the fintech companies and other financial institutions to launch their own financial products. LHV Bank is another company that does a similar sort of offering, but it's kind of, the banks can't go it alone in this whole digital transformation race. They need those fintech companies to help them with that journey, but there's obviously still that kind of, rivalry going on between the two.
Ryan, brilliant stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. You can check out the full report on our website. That's cnbc.com. There's a glimpse of the report, and I would highly encourage you to check it out. Some excellent work by Ryan there.